Hey, welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to tackle a word that gets thrown around all the time, enterprise. We're going to peel back the layers and figure out what it really means. From the spark of an idea all the way to how it shapes our entire world. Let's get into it. Think about it. We use all these words, enterprise, firm, company, corporation, almost like they're the same thing. But are they? Not really. And that little bit of confusion is exactly what we're going to clear up today. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about the spirit, the actual mindset behind a venture. Then we'll decode all that jargon. After that, we'll dig into a big one, the difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner. Then we'll look at the anatomy of an enterprise. And finally, we'll see why it's basically the engine that makes our society run. Okay, first things first. Before we get into any of the business speak or legal stuff, we have to talk about the mindset. We need to get a handle on that human spark that actually gets the ball rolling. That spirit of initiative. And this quote, well, it really nails it. For a long time, people just thought entrepreneurship was about, starting a company. But it's so much more than that. It's a way of thinking. It's this opportunistic spirit that really anyone can have, whether you're at a massive corporation or running a tiny local project. And if you trace the word back, it's actually pretty cool. Both enterprise and entrepreneurship come from this French verb entreprendre, and it just means to undertake or to begin. That's it. So an enterprise is the thing you undertake, and entrepreneurship is the spirit you bring to undertaking it. Simple as that. All right, so we've got the spirit down. Now let's get a little more precise and cut through some of that confusing business jargon. This table is super helpful for seeing those subtle differences. So an enterprise, that's the big, broad term that's all about initiative. A company is more specific, it's a legal thing. A firm is a word you hear in certain professions, right? Like a law firm. A corporation, now you're talking about a large legal structure, usually with shareholders. And then you've got organization, which is just a catch-all for any group with a goal. And an institution, which is more like an established pillar of society, like a university. Okay, this next part is maybe one of the most important ideas in this whole explainer. It's not just about the act of starting a business, it's all about the mindset you have when you do it. Let's dive into the entrepreneur versus the business owner. So let's just ask the question straight up. Are they the same? And the answer, pretty clearly, is no. And the ways they're different? Well, they're fundamental to understanding what really makes an enterprise tick. This side-by-side just lays it out perfectly. A small business owner, and this is incredibly valuable, wants to make a good living, often doing something that's tried and true. They see risk, and they manage it. But an entrepreneur? They're trying to change the world. They're thinking big, looking for innovation, and they see opportunity where everyone else just sees risk. It's about a passion that goes way beyond just the profit. And here's a story to really make that stick. One person opens a bike rental shop on a corner. Great business, serves the neighborhood. The other person sees the same problem, people needing bikes, but develops a citywide, app-based bike sharing system. They build a whole fleet and literally change how the entire city gets around. See the difference? One serves a market, the other creates a whole new one. So, now that we get the mindset, let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine itself. What are the essential parts that make up any enterprise, big or small, for-profit or not? Really, you can think of any enterprise as having these three core pieces. First, you've got purpose. That's the why. Why does this thing even exist? Then you have people, the who. An enterprise is absolutely nothing without people working together. And finally, you need a deliberate structure, the how. That's the framework that keeps everyone coordinated and moving in the same direction. And you can't have one without the other two. They all work together. And based on that purpose we just talked about, enterprises usually fall into two main categories. You have your for-profit enterprise, which is all about generating a financial return for its owners or investors. And then you have the nonprofit, which might still make money, but it has to reinvest everything it earns right back into its mission, whatever that might be. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, that's interesting, but why does any of this matter to me if I'm not starting a business? Well, here's the thing. Enterprises, in every shape and form, are the absolute engines of modern society. The legendary management thinker Peter Drucker said it perfectly. Our entire lives, the jobs we have, the stuff we buy, the tech we use every single day, it's all shaped by how well these institutions perform. They're not just some small part of society. In a lot of ways, they are our society. So when you boil it all down, enterprises are constantly playing these two massive roles at the same time. On the economic side, Yeah, they're creating value and giving us the stuff we want and need. But on the social side, they're creating jobs and literally shaping our culture with every new product and idea they introduce. They're a massive driving force. And that brings us right back to where we started, that French verb, entreprendre, to undertake. It's about a spirit of initiative, of starting something, of seeing a problem and deciding to do something about it. So the only question left is, what will you undertake?